Hello, let me introduce you to the Bronica EYRS system. It's a medium format 6x4.5 camera. What I'll start with is taking you through loading the film, which after a while, a bit of practice, it becomes quite easy. So to release the back, let me show you that on the close-up. At the bottom of the camera, at the rear, we have a button at the bottom here. Can you see that? So you hold the camera, grip both at the back and here, push this button and it will release the back. Okay, so that's basically the catch for the film back. This is the roll film back in my hand here. So the film basically gets loaded into this chamber here. This section here is where the film is exposed. Okay, so it's a 6x4.5 camera. So 6 is the 6 centimetres across that way, and the 4.5 is down, which is 4.5 centimetres, so it's 4.5 centimetres down. Okay, so when you take the dark slide off, which is this, the film will be, the emulsion will be in this place here, so that's the size of your neg, which is effectively 2.7 times bigger than a 35mm negative. Okay, at the top here we have the releases for the back. And there's two arrows facing inwards, pointing inwards there. Okay, so if you squeeze them together, it releases the back like so. So it comes apart and you have two sections. Okay, the film will go into this bit here. Now that's in the upright position there, and you can tell that because the frame counter is just there in a little window. Okay, that will give you the exposures you've shot. So that's got to be facing upwards on the right-hand side. The take-up spool will be in the bottom. You can tell that because the bit you wind on with is at the bottom, and it'll turn the actual spool that the film is taken up on. Okay, and if normally when you shot the actual film, the whole film, the take-up spool will be in the top chamber, but to release it, you just push that bit out there like that, and it'll release this. They both come out in the same sort of way. Okay, so to load the film, this has got to be in the bottom. So, little fiddle there, and then there you go, that's home. Right, to load the film itself, 120 roll film as it's known, or medium format. If you buy it from the college shop, just say medium format roll film, or 120. So that's the wrapper off there, and then like so. Right, at this point you mustn't drop it because it'll spring open. The film itself, or 120 film, you have a long length of what they call backing paper. The backing paper effectively just protects the film from light so it doesn't get fogged, and then the camera mechanism or the wind-on mechanism will pull the actual backing paper through the camera, which is the film's attached to. Okay, right, this is essential you get this right. So when you load it, and then give it a little wiggle to make sure it's in place. The backing paper has got to have the black bit facing outwards, so if you see the coloured against the pressure plate, then you know it's the wrong way around. So if you do that wrong, then the film won't get exposed. Pull that round like so. The fiddly bit. Goes in the slot. Like so, and then with the wind on, right at the top where the film is loaded, you'll see a little index like an orange triangle. You wind it on slowly, you hear the ratchet going, and then you line up the arrows here with the index on the side, the orange index there. Okay, right, that's ready to load now. Again, frame counter at the top, to the top right, so that's the way up. There's only one way you can put this together because of the coupler that goes through a slot here, so you can't get that wrong. Like so, and then you squeeze it shut. A good old squeeze, and those buttons will shoot out and then back in. You get a nice click. Right, to attach it to the back, or to the back of the camera, should I say, the film back to the back of the camera, it's what they call top to bottom. So you put the top lugs on the top of the camera like that, and then click shut like that, so that's in place. Okay, what you need to do now is wind on the film. If you've loaded it correctly, the frame counter should have S in the window there, which means start. And then you wind it on here with the wind on lever. It'll keep going, and it'll stop on its own accord. It can't push it any further now. So the frame counter says 1, you're ready to roll. Okay, now I'll take you through the actual operation of the camera itself. Right, you know that was the wind on. Right, these two buttons here. There's two, I'll start with the top one. Right, that will, if you see the red dot on the side there, if that lever's down, you see the red dot, that particular function's active. So in that sort of mode, it will give you multiple exposure. So if you wanted to expose more than one frame, or one frame more than twice, then you'd have that down, and it'll just continually expose the same frame again and again until you reset it. The next lever down will give you mirror lockup for long exposures. So, because it has a particular large mirror in the camera, it can cause vibrations and it gives you camera shake. So if you did a long exposure, you could focus, set up your camera, wipe up the mirror, and then do your exposure separately. So the shutter will go sort of apart from the mirror itself, reducing vibration and camera shake. Always check your camera before you use it. If you see in those red buttons, red dots visible there, then you know that particular function's active. So I've known students to go away and shoot a whole film and had multiple exposure, so they're exposing the same film, or frame, should I say. Okay, so that's that side of the camera. On this side, you've got, this is your shutter speed dial. Right, the fastest shutter speed is 500th of a second, right? They're fractions of a second. So you go 500th down to just under 2, and then you get to whole seconds, 1, 2, 4, 8, and it has S next to it, so it reminds you they're actually whole seconds rather than fractions of the second. And then the last setting is B, or brief time for timed exposures. So as long as you hold the button, the release down, it will stay open until you release it with your finger. Okay, so that's the shutter speeds. Covered that bit there, which releases the back. Right, dark slide itself, before you can fire the camera, you need to remove the dark slide, this device here. It'll only go back in one way. There's a little notch or lug at the bottom. So unless you've got that in the, if you put it in the wrong way, it won't release the actual back because it locates a little slot at the bottom here. Okay, so if you put it upside down like that and try to release the back, it shouldn't come off. If you do it the right way, it will release it. Like so, so it locks in at the bottom there. Right, front of the camera, we've got the aperture ring here. This particular lens, which is 75mm, which is a standard on this format of camera, is goes down to 2.8. That's the maximum aperture. So aperture's at the front, and then the obvious part, the focus ring, which is there. Depth of field preview buttons on the side here, so you can stop down and preview your aperture, which is that's better. There you go. So you just stop down there on the side. Right, the waist level finder itself, to put it down, you need to push down the magnifier. Right, this magnifier is not staying down because somebody's broken it. But normally that'll stay in place when you do that, and then you push the sides in and waist level finder down. Okay. Normally you'd have to push that across to release the actual magnifier to come up. Right, I think I've covered everything there, and that's the Bronica.